Talk to me about a little bit, or talk to our viewers a little bit about some of the influences on your playing. Who are some of your most influential, both in and outside of jazz?
Right. All of them, really. But early on, I suppose, the first record I ever owned, my father, I wasn't living with him at the time, gave me a record by Urbie Green, the trombonist, which is hilarious because now in Colorado, that's like code word for marijuana. It's Urbie Green. When I got there, yeah, people were like, yeah, such and so's really into Urbie Green. And I said, really? I've always loved Urbie. I didn't realize it was code. But so Urbie Green, and an album that only trombonists love is called 21 Trombones. And when you listen to it, the arrangements are kind of Muzak sounding, but the trombone playing is phenomenal. And so it was a trombone choir with rhythm section. And his sound was just the first thing, like a lightning bolt. I would play along with it when I was just starting out, and I couldn't play all the high notes or any of them really, but I was trying to get that sound. So he was the first one, and then during those years in the 70s, Chicago was really, really in their heyday. So Jimmy Pankow, when I first heard him, that was another lightning bolt. So it was kind of through Urbie and then rock, and I started listening to Dave Bargeron with Blood, Sweat, and Tears, and that was just my sound that I loved. And from those guys, I learned that they checked out JJ, so I started listening to JJ, and then I went off into jazz, and the whole canon of great jazz trombonists. Bill Watrous was just starting to become popular in those years, so I wore those albums out. So it was a really wide, diverse range. And then I got into college and started listening to classical players too, and ironically got way into Jay Friedman's sound and the way that he played before I got to study with him. There was this wonderful album that was all Richard Strauss. On one side was Zarathustra, the other side was Don Juan and Tollerlenspiegel, and I just wore that thing out, playing along with it. Of course, I'd always swing it. I wouldn't play it in the right style, but I just loved their sound. And then I spent many years, and still do, imitating people on other instruments. And, so when a trombonist tries to imitate a trumpet player, they got to make the valve sound. There's a lot of guys that do that really well nowadays, like Mike Deese does that. Sounds like he's playing valves. And then, of course, you got to listen to Train, you got to listen to Miles, and I started copying all the other instruments and imitating those sounds on trombone. So it took me, and I made a conscious effort to get away from trombonistic things, the things that are intrinsic to the horn, and try to copy other sounds. So, it's the whole range of influences.
Right. And as an artist, you've got a lot of endeavors, not just the education and the writing and the trombone, but I know you've got a novel, and you were just telling me earlier today you've got another one, and a cartoonist. Yeah,
I did for years. It was either going to be, early on, I was going to be a cartoonist or a musician, and then I made first chair in the Allstate in that Lions band in Mississippi, and the girls started looking at me differently.
Right.
And I said, well, music it is. I'll go with that. They don't go after the cartoonists as much. But I kept doing cartoons and illustrating, and so I still have that aspect of things. And then only recently, when I did the project called Concerto for Folded Space, I decided to write a book that would be the programmatic fuel for the album. So it's kind of like a movie theme without the movie kind of deal, and that was so much fun that I want to go after that full speed ahead. So I'm working on finished another novel, and have ideas for 10 more at least. So as we were discussing earlier, I kind of find that all these artistic endeavors kind of fuel each other. So I can practice for a long time and start hitting the wall a little bit, or I need to take a break chop-wise, and then I'll go over here and go to another planet and start writing science fiction. And say, wow, this is great, until I run out of thoughts, my train of thought. Then, why don't I draw this funny guy and do that? So they all kind of renew each other. And it goes back to my original thing of creativity of any form. As long as I'm being creative, I'm completely right-brained. I have no access to the left side at all. I mean, I try to get in there sometimes, and what is this thing called math? Or how do I be responsible? I'll go to the left side, and this thing comes up that says, have you forgotten your password? But there's no way to retrieve it. I just can't get in. So I stay on the right side forever, just totally creative all the time.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's kind of where I live.
Very cool, man.